turned to Russian opposition to take into their political agenda issue of liberation of political prisoners, Ukrainian political prisoners in Russia, to actually speak in one voice and demand from Putin and his say proxies to free Mr. Sentsov, Kolchenko, Chigos, and other, let's say, Ukrainians illegally still being kept in Russian prisons as political prisoners. Klich, Karpiuk, many Ukrainians are still in prisons, still illegally, let's say, being kept, still like political prisoners under the regime of Putin. This is the appeal we actually did towards Russian opposition and towards Russian NGOs and civil society.
And yesterday, Excellency told Poroshenko that the sanctions will continue until Crimea will be returned to Ukraine.
Yes,
so, how possible is this scenario that Crimea will be brought back?
This is the only case scenario for us all, for all civilized world. The other scenarios we even don't discuss. We understand that Crimea is an integral part of Ukraine. We understand that Crimea is Ukraine. We understand that Crimean Tatars are core nation of Ukraine and Crimea. This is the legal and international legal position and side of this issue. There is no other scenario, believe me. All other things are, let's say, occupation as scenarios of Putin's regime. By any chance, we would not agree to follow the hostile scenarios. And our key position here is to talk to Lithuanian strategic partner of Ukraine, to European Union member states, to Russian opposition, and to our American partners to really be together in the same coalition against war, in the same coalition against crimes against humanity, conducted and being still conducted by Russian special services and Russian troops in Ukraine. That's where we are in common. And so with that, this is where Ukraine, altogether, opposition, government, all NGOs, all civil society, we are all united. We are all ready and we will defend our country till the last, let's say, moment. But what we think is important is really have clear messages, to have common agenda, and to have coordinated steps, policies, sanctions, pressure, legal advice, and many other things being at the same plan, combined efforts and measures.
So recently, Ukraine banned some Russian social networks and limited Russian language on TV. So, and some people criticize that this is kind of violation of freedom of speech. So where is the line between freedom of speech and the propaganda? So why was it necessary?
The line is clear. When it's for us, for Ukraine and for Ukrainians, this is a matter of security, of national security, a matter of how to survive against the occupation, against the undeclared war against us. This is an issue in Ukraine. And understanding that, we actually, I think, our government should provide more proof and actually be more active in providing actually more information and proof, again, evidence of why the decision Ukraine has to do, why Ukraine has to protect our people and our, let's say, cyberspace from the hostile attacks from Russian and in Russian networks and even social networks. Why we understand that cybersecurity and actually this hybrid warfare, including Russian fake news, Russian propaganda, Russian media, hostile media financed from Russian budget and by the Russian government, they are all against independent Ukraine. They are all against Ukrainian people and against European values and the European freedom of speech, of gatherings and other principles of free world. But for Ukraine, it's time and place where this issue became and actually become the issue of national security. My understanding, what it's better to do in the future is to really limit influence of Russian social networks, other, let's say, internet fake news websites, is to really protect our databases, especially, I mean, in Ukraine, especially governmental, first point, and the second, to protect Ukrainians, and especially those who are on the military service or on public service, from being involved or lured, even entrapped into any so-called social groups or networks under the control of Russian special services. That's the point. All other things, all other, let's say, kind of activity in the internet, I think it should be free with no limitations. It's up to anybody to decide. If you are entering this network, please be aware this is not clear, this is not secure. Same time, if you would like to do that, you are free. This is like internet is a free zone for any area for anybody. My understanding for our national security, clear messages, clear understanding, and clear proof why we are protecting ourselves from hostile attacks and fake news and separatist groups and terrorist groups, even in some Russian networks.
Okay, and now let's talk about military exercise Zapad that will take place in September. So they say it's just an exercise, but how dangerous it can be? What do you think? And if it turns into real military actions against Ukraine or Baltic countries, so for example, is Ukraine ready to respond?
We should be ready. Ukraine and the European Union member states and NATO itself. There is no other way, believe me. We, Ukraine and Ukrainians, we are now talking to the rest of the world, especially to our strategic partners like Lithuania and other Baltic states, that what we have experienced, what we have faced after the Revolution of Dignity in 2014, the stuff is and hybrid warfare looks like this. It's now the homework for all of us to prepare our countries, to defend our land, to become stronger domestically and internationally. So not to be afraid and not waiting for war, for worst case scenario. On the contrary, to prepare, to be ready, to be aware, and to understand what we are capable and what we have to do. Not to allow any further invasion or any further hostile or military actions against our people or our land to be taken by Putin's regime.
So you think
on our side is truth and real, let's say, people. So we have to protect ourselves. Same time, again, to be with the real civil society in Russia, providing them with the true information, real information of what is going on.
So you think that we shouldn't ignore the exercise, and we should understand that it can be dangerous and can turn into real military actions.
And to take real measures, I mean, with NATO, with other security organizations, to protect our lands, clearly, with the full, strong and long-term perspective.
And now probably all the nations in the world are concerned about Trump's and Putin's friendship. So if the relationship continuing so well, as it seems now, so what impact could be done to Ukraine?
It's very important, and let me again to underline that for us, for European Union member states, Lithuania, Ukraine, for all of us, it's very important that Trump's administration will go on with their position, clear position, stated by both President Trump and the White House, that Crimea is part of Ukraine and Russia should return it and get back to Ukraine, and withdraw all occupational troops and special services, as well as eastern Ukraine. One thing, and the another thing, Russia should be, let's say, be accountable for all these hostile and actually undeclared war against Ukraine and Ukrainians. This is key elements. What next should be done with the United States and with President Trump and his administration is clear and firm coalition against the war, with the leading role of the United States. So not talking about fake friendship or whatever else, which is more, let's say, virtual, but to talk and to do what should be done here and now in our common interest. Again, coalition, international coalition, solid and firm against war, against Putin's regime and actually their hostile plans against anybody. So they still view, Putin's regime still views Ukraine, European Union member states and the United States as enemies whom we would like to defeat. So what? We have to survive, we have to protect our common space, our people, our nations. No other way and no other scenario.
Okay, so we run out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your